So I'm going to rant a bit here because I'm facing a problem, an issue, a short-term one, and a long-term one. And that's one, our neighbors, really good neighbors, found a couple of homeless dogs down here in South Texas, and it's been freezing for the majority of the week, all week. You know, temperatures dipped into the teens, which is rare down here, and we've got a big homeless dog population. And so they were rescued. We're looking for fosters, so if you can foster and you're down here in San Antonio, Texas, let me know. But that's just an example of the hundreds, if not thousands, of dogs that faced these cold temperatures. Many of them likely perished, and that's extraordinarily sad. Not to mention the hundreds, if not thousands, that have faced or are facing euthanasia at the local animal shelters. And the reason being is we've got a long-term systemic problem in our inability to control the homeless dog population. And so what I wanted to do here is just rant a bit, potentially leverage the intellectual horsepower of whoever might be listening in my network of friends. I don't know where I'm going to post this, but if you're listening to this, I hope that you, one, tolerate my rant. Sorry about that. Two, you give me your thoughts, correct me where I might be wrong, point me to studies that show things that might have worked either in this context or in a similar one, or just give me anything creative that you've thought of, you've had in the back of your mind now, or maybe even as a result of my rant. But I'd like to address the problem, which is an uncontrolled dog population. And I think what the root cause is, which I posit, is less than ideal pet ownership, or less than responsible pet ownership. I don't want to denigrate anyone because everyone's got their own personal views. But I think we can all agree that there are certain behaviors, certain choices that we make as pet owners that either help contribute to this problem or help contribute to its solution. And so I'm purely looking at it from that perspective. And in order to address that issue, I think we have to define what responsible pet ownership is. And that's what I hope to do through this rant, and also defining how we can put together mechanisms to incentivize the right choices for pet owners. And so in order to define a responsible pet ownership, I think you got to look at four things. One, how you source it. You've got the option of going to a breeder, which contributes to the increase in the dog population, or the choice of going to a rescue, which contributes to the reduction of the homeless dog population. Ultimately, through this rant, I want to figure out how we can best incentivize equilibrium in the market, preemptively, proactively, not through euthanasia, as is our current approach. And so I think, from that context, that's, check mark one in terms of responsible dog ownership is sourcing your dog from a rescue. The second thing, if we want to implement mechanisms in order to incentivize, maybe punish irresponsible dog ownership or incentivize responsible dog ownership, is we have to know who owns dogs. So registration is a must. And that's something that's probably hard to address because, if I know that you're going to use these mechanisms to fine me or potentially tax me, I wouldn't want to volunteer that information. And so we'll have to look at mechanisms that make it easy to register and make it make sense for someone. Third, I think what you have to look at is whether you take care of your pet from a medical perspective in a way that helps the pet population. So, the third thing would be spaying and neutering. That's obviously something that goes a tremendously long way towards curbing the growth in the homeless pet population. And fourthly, just general maintenance of your dog's health in order for us to have an overall healthy pet population. And if we can do that, it would incentivize folks to maintain their pets because they don't become a burden. And so in order to figure out how to incentivize those things, we've got to, I think, look at what's been done or what's proposed to be done in other systemic issues that we're facing. For example, the drug epidemic that we have and the proposals for legalization and heavy taxation. The educational campaigns that we've had for tobacco smoking and the heavy taxation there as well. The lessons that we've maybe learned through the terrible experiment that prohibition was. Just things that have been tried. And I think what we've learned is that punishment is maybe not the best way to go. For example, you can outlaw the breeding of dogs, but that's only going to cause whatever's been outlawed to go underground. And so you have to do something more like taxation to incentivize the right behavior, I think. And so what I propose is using a mechanism of taxation to encourage dog owners to make the right choice in each of these four facets. 4 reasons I've explained. The first one is sourcing of dogs. So in order to incentivize the sourcing of a dog to be from a rescue rather than a breeder, taxation at the breeders would probably be a good idea. I'd say 50%. So you're gonna have to pay 50% more for your dogs if you want a purebred dog from a breeder. And so you'll still have the option, but ultimately it's gonna incentivize more people to make the choice that is more congruent with the problem we're trying to solve, which is go to the rescue. But you can still have your purebred pet. You'll just have to pay a little bit for it, a little bit more. And I think it's great to have a purebred dog. I've had one. I had a husky growing up, but at the same time, I think it's a lot more beneficial for society to rescue and do the right thing. Not to toot my own horn, but I've got a couple of rescues here at home. So there's one, bear rug there. Her name is Tinsley. Hi, Tinsley. Tinsley. Yeah, so my wonderful, wonderful wife, rescued her right before she was euthanized for a ridiculous reason. And now she's here, and she's great. She's the best dog in terms of behavior I've ever had, and she's extraordinarily loving. Oakley! Sorry, I just want to show off my dogs here. So that's another one. That one I call Railroad Baby, because we found her by the dog tracks. Hey! All right, she doesn't want to be seen, I guess. There she is. That's actually a pretty sad story. She was abandoned by the dog tracks, and she stayed there looking for her owner to come back for several days. And I know that because it took her 3 days to get her, but she's also a great dog. But anyway, I digress. As you can see, she loves loving. And so through taxation, we can encourage rescuing dogs like these two. Okay. Sorry. The second thing that we probably can encourage through taxation is the registration of dogs. And so that one's a bit hard, as I explained. If I know you're going to use mechanisms to tax me or fine me, if I register my dog, I'm not going to volunteer that information. At the same time, in order to police who has dogs would be an almost insurmountable task. Many could argue, I think rightfully so, that we can spend those resources elsewhere. So I think what we have to do is put forth a mechanism that incentivizes people to register their dogs organically, something that's hard to avoid, but easy to ultimately solve, so that you feel the pain, but not much. And I think that's taxation on something that dog owners can't really avoid, which is dog food. So if we tax dog food at 50%, let's say, and the first day this is implemented, you go to the store, bag of dog food's normally $10, go to the register, and it's $15. You either notice it, or we train the people at the point of sale to tell you, hey, by the way, sir, you're being taxed at 50%, but that tax can be refunded and ultimately never charged on an ongoing basis if you register your dog. Now, many people might not do it right away because of the inconvenience of registering, but eventually they'll want to register in order to save, in the pocketbook. Additionally, we probably should reduce barriers to entry to registration, and I think there's infrastructure that we can leverage that's out there today. For example, retailers like Walmart, H-E-B have windows that you can go to right by the cash registers to register your car, to get a fishing license, things of that nature. So the infrastructure is already in place. We can probably leverage that. We'd probably have to add it at pet stores and things of that nature. But the cashier can simply say, sir, you just got to step over here. It'll take 5 minutes. You register your dog and we'll actually refund the tax that you paid today. And on an ongoing basis, you won't be taxed that anymore. So that's one idea. The other is that it doesn't reduce the entire 50% tax. It reduces it by maybe 25%. And the act of registration maybe doesn't reduce it permanently. It reduces it temporarily, let's say a trial period of 3 months. And in order for you to renew your registration after that first trial period of 3 months, you have to show proof of vaccinations, medications, flea and tick prevention, things of that nature, in order to keep the pet population healthy. Once you do that, you just have to show it on an annual basis to maintain your registration, and you maintain, let's say, a 25% discount on that 50% tax. You can maybe chip at the rest of it by doing a third thing from a registration perspective, which is showing proof of spaying and neutering, which incentivizes that other point of responsible pet ownership. And that just completely knocks all the tax away. If you register your dog, you keep it up to date on its vaccinations and its medicine, and you neuter it, you don't have to pay tax. Now, if you don't want to neuter your dogs, which many people don't, I went 10 years without neutering my husky, not knowing the side effects of doing so. Sorry, my dog here is trying to wrestle me. Anyway, but I eventually did it. It's healthier for dogs. But if you don't want to do it, you can simply just pay the tax. And all of these taxes collected either when people are still realizing what they want to do, or when people have already made their choice of going to the breeders, not neutering their dogs, or even not registering their dogs. We can use that to fund programs that provide these things for free, potentially, like free vaccinations, free spay, neutering, etc. So ultimately, I think this is something that's feasible, but it's just something that I thought of when trying to find fosters for these two dogs and just looking at the overall problem. So again, if you have the ability to foster and you're down here in South Texas, let me know. But also, if you've got anything to share with regard to what I just noted, any ideas of your own, any critiques, or even ways of moving forward with a proposal like this one, let me know. And either way, say a prayer for all these doggos, because they're great and they provide so much light in our lives. So thanks for listening to my rant. Have a good one.